Hello, everyone. This is Ed Breniger, and this is the Eddie Network podcast. And this is the introduction to season two. When I started this a year ago, I didn't know that there would be a season two. I was just trying to start a podcast and see what would happen with it. And I've been wonderfully surprised by your response to what I've created here. And when I started this podcast, I wanted to make it as easy as possible for people to say yes to me so they would come on the podcast. I wasn't certain that I could get people to do this. And for a while it was a little, I was working a week out from posting. It was at that kind of level at the beginning. And then the numbers began to grow, and I got a month out, and then I got 2 months out. And that told me that there was something happening with this, that and other people would say this to me, you don't realize what you've created here. And I said, well, I'm just doing a podcast, and I want to make it easy. I'm going to give me an hour. You're not going to need to prepare, and there's no agenda. We're just going to talk. And that's exactly what happened. And something significant happened in the process of doing that. And it was that people began to realize that it's possible to have a conversation with another person that is unscripted, that's unplanned, that it doesn't require preparation. It doesn't require anxiety to wonder, okay, how are they going to talk with me? How are they going to treat me? And I mean, this is the way I've always operated. So that wasn't unique to me, but I realized that it wasn't unique to a lot of people. And particularly in the second half of the year, people were saying to me, you have something here that's really, really important. And I'm saying, well, what is that? And it's this very idea of people being able to come together and have a conversation. And one of the facets of that emerged over over time was the fact that it was not just the fact that we were having an unscripted conversation, but it was that I was having these conversations with people that I was meeting for the first time. 54 people out of the 86 that I interviewed last year were people that I had never met before. And the podcast episode is our first conversation. And I found that to be so significant. I've taken all of uh, those videos that were produced in those first conversations and created a playlist on my YouTube site called First Conversations. And so you can find all of those there. And over the course of January of this year, I have posted, I think I'm posting 9 of those episodes, kind of randomly chosen, more because of people that I felt like it would be nice to give them a little bit more recognition, a little bit more exposure. People that but all these people that I interviewed, I respect and I appreciate who they are. And it used to be that I would say, if I've had a meal with you, I'm a friend of yours for life. And now I'm saying, if we've had a podcast together, we're going to be friends for life. That's the kind of the way I look at this. And what I realize is that I have been very free to kind of do and go wherever I wanted to go, within limits, obviously. I mean, I'm not egregious in that. I'm very focused and purposeful in that. But my experience is not like most people's experience, where they've kind of felt a sense of constraint about the world that they live in, the constraint of the business they may work in, or the company they may work for, or the whatever those circumstances are, they feel constraint and feel less open and less free. And it's a growing conversation with me and others, where I think people are beginning to realize, and this is kind of coming out of the pandemic, that there's a sense of identity that is discovered in freedom, and that many people having worked for the same company for a long time, decades maybe, have basically acquired the values of that company, and they're kind of one. And if they were to leave the company, they would discover that there's a lot about their life that they don't know. In my book, Circle of Impact, Taking Personal Initiative to Ignite Change, the first chapter, I tell a story about a man named William who goes through this. He's in his mid-40s, and he finds that he can't accept the offer to go overseas with the company, as the company's been purchased and his department's being moved overseas. His family situation doesn't allow it. You know, it's not just the age of his children who are approaching high school, but it's also his wife and his parents who are also at a stage where they need more care from them. So he has to leave the company that he's worked for 20, 25 years, and he has to discover who he is. Here he is in his mid-40s, has to discover who he is. You know, and I craft a dialogue between us in that. Well, in many ways, this is what's happening with the Eddy Network podcast, is that these are conversations with people where we're seeking to kind of understand where we are. And we're just talking about whatever appears to us on the day. I mean, in some cases last year, you know, the guest came on and said, "So what do you want to talk about?" And they said, "Well, I'd like to ask you the questions." I just recorded another one this week where that is actually what took place. So that freedom to just do whatever seems right in the moment is a characteristic of this. And so the second year will be more of this, and I'll be adding to this. So here we are, beginning of February. This will post on February 1st, and already I have over 30 people who have signed up and are in the queue to be interviewed for me. So I'm already scheduling podcast episodes for June. You know, that was not like that. It was not like that last year. And so it says something to me that there is an appeal to having unscripted interaction with people. And I hope to learn more about that. Now, I'm going to add to this in a couple of ways. I'm in the process of moving. Later this morning, I will close on the purchase of a new home in my hometown of Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and I'll move next week there. And this is probably the last time you'll see me in this room on video. I mean, I've already recorded some other interviews, so you'll see this, but this is the last one I'm doing. And I'll be in a new home, and it's a larger place than I want to live in, and my intention is to create social events in my home where there's nothing scripted about it other than we're going to have a cup of coffee and maybe some kind of something to eat, something, a snack, something to share, as I wouldn't necessarily call it nourishment, but for something that we share together in a social environment. And then we allow the group to gather and to have a conversation that is unscripted and allows it just to emerge from our interaction as we sit there. So that's going to come. It's not going to come right away, but probably within the next 5 to 6 months, I'll do the first one of these. And if you live close by where I live, we'll be living in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, you would be welcome to come. We'll figure out the logistics of how people get signed up for that sort of thing, but that's coming. That's coming. Because I want to live this way in my regular daily life, where my greeting of you is not predicated on us already having decided what we're going to talk about. I want to discover what you're thinking, what you're experiencing, and learn from that. So that's coming. A second thing I'm going to do is I need to monetize what I do here, and so I'm going to ask increasingly for people to support me through my Substack. And one of the ways I'm going to do that is I'm going to host um, group conversations with former guests. So I've got a couple of these already planned, and we're going to sit down for probably 75 minutes, because if I have 5 people that I've invited, we need a little bit of time to kind of explore whatever it is we need to explore. But these events will be choreographed by me, and I'm inviting these people because there's some common thread to their work or their life, and I want these people to be kind of in the same place where they can talk about this. I'm really excited. So I have two of these planned, and they will be available to people who are subscribers to my Substack. So do a monthly subscription. It's only $10, and you will then have access to these interviews, and they'll show up on the Substack, but they'll show up as a paid subscriber feature. So just to kind of let you know that. In addition to that, which I think I don't, it's another an experiment. This is all experimental in many ways. I'm going to do a monthly open conversation, also for paid subscribers to my Substack, but it'll be open, and we'll greet one another, and we'll say, "Who are you?" and we'll see where the conversation goes. Also unscripted, and as an experiment. I mean, the way I look at it, the world we live in is very, very mechanical. You know, everything is rote, everything is managed, everything is planned, everything is scripted, and so there's not a whole lot of freedom. There's not most people I know are not in modes of discovery of new things. They're trying to do the very best they can with the world that is presented to them every day. But the disruption that the COVID pandemic brought was a recognition that there is more out there. And so I think the podcast is a reflection of the need for more openness, but it's also a reflection on what I'm seeing in people of a desire to have a greater sense of discovery about who they are. I think the one of the crises that emerged from the COVID pandemic is a crisis of identity. And in many people, they found that these institutional entities that they had attached themselves to for 10 years, 20 years, whatever, no longer could be depended upon to have their best interest in mind. And so many people leave, they like the idea of working from home because there's freedom there. They're free, there's freedom. And then when the pressure came to return to the office, many people said, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to quit. And so they go looking for something else. That dynamic of change, that dynamic of transition is also a dynamic of rediscovering who I am and what is important for me and what is my purpose. And how does that purpose get expressed in a mission that allows me to put my energy in a specific direction towards a specific goal? And when I started all this almost 30 years ago, my goal was to strengthen the leadership of local communities, through businesses and families and community organizations, that sort of thing. But that was my goal, and it still is. And I'm seeing that goal or that purpose can be expressed in a lot of different ways. So I'm excited about what is coming. A third thing that will happen is less directed, less a product of the podcast and more a product of this issue, this not issue, but this sense of the need for focus upon community, is that the group of us who lived in Asheville a dozen years ago, starting in 2008, the winter of 2008, we started a program called Lessons in Leadership, and it was a program where we bring a nationally known or world-class presenter to town, and along with a local person presenting, we do these this one-off event every year. And the idea was for local business owners to bring their staff and to give local businesses the opportunity for their teams, their staff, to have a leadership experience together. I mean, just saying that, it takes me back to those days when we did this. We did this for 7 years, and we had, and Asheville's not a huge place. I mean, it's under 100,000 people, but we were getting, I think at the largest, we had about 1,500 people at the largest one that we did. That's remarkable. So I've been talking with that group of people that I was a part of, and we're going to do a group conversation later in February that will be part of this group unscripted conversation that I want to have. But I'm going to revive the Lessons in Leadership LinkedIn group, where I'm going to encourage people to start doing leadership events in their local communities to support local businesses and the people who work in local businesses. It's just a marvelous thing. And so if you are on LinkedIn, be looking for this within the next month to 6 weeks, so that you can be a part of that, and we can have a conversation through LinkedIn about this, and we'll see where this idea goes, and see how, if we can generate some new lessons in leadership cohorts around the country where people are deciding we want to take care of our local businesses by supporting the people who work in those businesses. And this is how we can do that. So that's what's coming this year. I'm moving, starting a new life in a new town, but it's an old town because it's the town I grew up in. And I've already seen a bunch of the people that I used I grew up with, and it's really a delight to reconnect with them, and I look forward to being back there. I look forward to you seeing the interviews that I'm doing with the people now for the new season. Some of them are really remarkable. It's really remarkable. And and the last thing I'm going to say is that I'm hoping to be able to hire someone this year to expand the reach of the podcast so that I can do it so you can find it in other places, so that I can do some what are they called, clips, video clips of these. There's a lot more that the development of the podcast that can be done, and up to this point I've done it all, and I can't do it all and do all the other things that need to come with that. So all of that, that's why I got to monetize it, and see how we can maybe create a movement of conversation that allows people the freedom to express themselves without judgment and with freedom, and which is really a countercultural thing in our world today. So thank you for your support of the podcast and your support of me. Excuse me. Thank you for acknowledging that this thing is valuable, and I'm extraordinarily grateful for that. And it makes me feel like this is maybe why I've done all the stuff that I've been doing for the last 50 years, that it all culminates in what this little thing called a podcast is all about. So I appreciate your thoughts, and any kind of comments you have. Obviously, I love to hear from you, and if you have someone that you feel like I should be interviewing, then introduce us. Simply send an email to the two of us saying, Bill, I want you to meet Ed. Ed, I want you to meet Bill. And if you do that, and just say that you're signaling that you think Bill should be on the podcast, then I will take it from there, and I will send Bill an invite, or Margie or Mary Sue or whoever it may be, and I'll be glad to bring them into the Eddie Network podcast orbit. And thank you very much, and we'll see you next time for the new season of the Eddie Network podcast. Bye-bye.